Shifting focus now to Sri Lanka, where Anura Kumara Dissanayake has become the first leftist president of Sri Lanka. It's also the first election where he won the mandate in the second preferential vote. But he's been sworn in. He is now expected to lead Sri Lanka in its next phase of growth. What does it mean for New Delhi? What does it mean for the India-Sri Lanka relationship from here on, given the fact that there are concerns in power corridors that AKD has been fairly vocal about several aspects of engaging with India. He's also been very vocal about Chinese investments, and also he's been vocal about the Tamils in the northern part of Sri Lanka. Remember, 12% of Sri Lankan population is Tamil ethnic minorities, and the 13th Amendment of the Constitution is something that AKD is against it. Now, what does it mean for the larger bilateral relationship? That's our big debate on India Global. With me on the discussion, Rohan Samarajiva, who's joining us from Colombo. He is a policy analyst in Sri Lanka, and we have Ayanjit Sen, who tracks the neighborhood very closely for us. Rohan, let me start with you. AKD has been sworn in. Congratulations have been extended to him by Prime Minister Modi. He's also responded. But there are concerns in New Delhi on the fact that given his Marxist background, given his left leanings, is he going to open up floodgates to Chinese investments and possibly have a very cautious approach to engagement with India? That's the concern.
I think if you look back at the history of the party that he comes from, the core party, not the coalition, not the larger entity
JVP,
got him elected. The JVP, he got elected with a sort of a broader umbrella entity called the National NPP, whatever it is. If you look back at the history, I think you have grounds for concern. But I think that the February visit to Delhi, where he met with Foreign Minister Jaishankar, and he was given a warm welcome and interacted with a lot of industry in India, I think it has changed his views to some extent, and the economic realities, particularly given the unfortunate situation that Maldives finds itself in, I think has made his advisors see that anti-Indianism is not a viable political option these days. So I don't really expect him to take any precipitate steps that would favor China versus India.
Okay.
And I think the whole country knows that when we were in trouble in 2022, it is India that came to our assistance. And there was pretty much nothing from the Chinese side.
Exactly. It was a $4 billion line that was extended to Colombo in 2022. $2.5 billion has been utilized. There's still some left. In addition to that, there's the $1.4 billion bilateral debt that is part of the restructuring. But Ayanjit Sen, I want to ask you this, that what, according to you, will be driving the India-Sri Lanka economic relationship, and also what happens to China's larger naval footprint in Sri Lanka? Do you see that happening?
Thank you very much. Well, I think, first of all, the fact that India has already given out economic and humanitarian assistance worth $4.5 billion US dollars to Sri Lanka at a time when they needed it the most. And apart from the food aid and medicines which has gone there, I think that's something which the Sri Lanka has not forgotten. And despite whoever comes to power right now, for example, if the current president, Dissanayake, now he has himself visited India and has met our national security advisor and our foreign minister, Dr. S. Jaishankar. And in fact, our national security advisor went to Sri Lanka also later and met up with him. Now, from all that perspectives, I believe that he has already said one thing which is very important, saying that Sri Lanka's sea, land and airspace are not to be used to threaten India or any kind of regional instability to cause, basically. So from that perspective, I think India does not
Okay, those are early assurances coming in, is what you're saying. Okay, but you know, the question I want to ask this is, Samarajiva, to you as well, sir, which is twofold. One is the foreign relationships that AKD is looking to forge. Will that mean greater Chinese presence in terms of the Indian Ocean region? And secondly, also, the concern is that, you know, the Tamil minority issue in the north is a concern, and it could probably have larger ramification on the bilateral relationship as well, because the northern and eastern parts of Sri Lanka, they have Tamil minorities there. The 13th Amendment is something that AKD is strongly against. It has anyway not been implemented. Is that a concern, and do you see that having a spillover impact on the bilateral relationship?
Well, again, if you go back to the history, that is back to 1987, when the 13th Amendment that devolved certain powers to the provinces was enacted, yes, his party was adamantly opposed to it. But there is a very clear, unambiguous statement in support of the 13th Amendment as part of this election campaign. So you see, I think we need to not equate the political party that existed in 1987 with the political formation, which is not the same party. It's a sort of a larger entity.
What about China, sir? Very quickly, what about China, sir?
China question is an interesting issue. I think that China has not been very forthcoming in terms of assistance, flexibility with regard to debt rescheduling, and so on. So I think China will make mostly commercial judgments with regard to investments and so on. But with regard to these ship visits and things of that nature, where the executive has greater autonomy, because remember, the president cannot decide everything. There is a legislature, and that is going to be decided by November of this year. Who has a working majority in the legislature? Because he has only 3 seats right now.
Yes.
Right? Out of 225.
Yes.
So we have to wait for the political situation to settle in November, when we'll get a picture of what the legislature is like and the executive.
And that's when the China policy could become much clearer. I'm afraid I'm completely out of time.
November.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. I'm going to come back, and I have a feeling that I'm going to revisit Sri Lanka in coming days and talk more about that. But well, this is all the time I have in this edition of India Global. Thanks so much for watching.